What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Stochastic channel. Today, we're talking some college football DFS ahead of the Week 9 Thursday slate. 2 games up, 2 games down. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. That helps us a ton, so thank you if you've done that. And we are brought to you by Prize Picks. They have a first match deposit bonus up to $100 for new users. And they're giving you 1 free month of OddsShopper. We have tons of tools on OddsShopper to help you with all your sports betting needs, sides, totals, player props, all the major sports, and that'll help you with Prize Picks. They offer player props for a variety of sports, including all the major ones, college football, NFL, NBA, NHL, they have it. Plus, they have niche sports. Check them out. Link in the video description below. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 to play. All right, bring you behind the glass. This is our data usage tool. We'll start our 2-game slate with a rare ACC Thursday night matchup. This game features Syracuse and Virginia Tech. The spread is 3 points in favor of the Hokies. Total is 47. Really weird matchup. Syracuse beat up on their non-conference and has gotten slaughtered by the top of the ACC, Clemson, North Carolina, and Florida State. Virginia Tech's been beating some of the weaker teams like Pitt, so it's a tough one to handicap. Luckily, for DFS, we don't have to do that. Syracuse plays fast, 37th in pace. Their pass rate is 47.5%. That's increased with the recent slaughterings they've been the victim of. Virginia Tech is 85th in pace. Their pass rate is 46%. That has plummeted since they moved to drones at quarterback. Starting with Syracuse, pretty affordable price tag on Garrett Schrader here. Virginia Tech's defense has been fine, but I still don't fear them, and they allow 4.8 yards per carry. Schrader is very mobile, 358 yards for him. His rushing, the volume's been good too. At least 5 designed attempts in 4 straight games for Schrader. I think we can play him just fine. On 25 pass attempts per game, he averages 196 yards. There's upside for more in certain matchups when games are competitive. They've kind of had barbell games where they've either blown teams out or gotten blown out themselves. So Schrader's kind of been phased out of games from a passing perspective. I think there is upside for more with him. He's a pretty good play. As far as the backfield goes, LaQuint Allen will handle almost all the work when games are competitive. You can see a clear delineation between like pure blowouts and then games where Syracuse hung around enough to keep him competitive. He averages 18.6 touches per game. Just know if they get blown out, that probably is like 12 touches. If they remain competitive, he could see as many as like 26. In the last 4 games, he's had touch counts of 24, 19, 14, and 23. So LaQuint Allen very firmly in play, even as an underdog. His pass game role is electric. In the pass game, Syracuse has dealt with a ton of injuries. They lost Oronde Gadsden for the year. They also lost Trevor Pena, which I think is noteworthy. He was projected to be a top 2 guy. And they've been without Isaiah Jones for a while. He returned in their last game, played about 35% of the routes, and now Syracuse is coming off a bye. He was projected to be a top 3 pass catcher at the beginning of the year, so I think we're going to see Isaiah Jones back into a full-time role. But what does that mean for him? What does that mean for the other pass catchers? Because they've kind of had to condense out of necessity Damian Alford, Donovan Brown, and Umari Hatcher. But in their last game, where Jones returned and had that 35% route share, we saw Alford at 70%, Donovan Brown at 61%, Umari Hatcher at 67%. I don't think we flat out see any pass catcher with like a 95% route share as long as they have these 4 guys, which makes it really tricky for DFS. If I were picking any of them, it would still be Alford. The target share is just the best with him, but I don't feel good about it. 4,800 middling price tag. Second, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jones just based on the pedigree with him. Third would be Umari Hatcher, and then fourth would be Donovan Brown. So kind of a mixed bag here with the Syracuse pass catchers. I don't have confidence in any of them, but I'll likely end up mixing and matching them for tournaments. For Virginia Tech, Kyron Drones has taken over as signal caller. Very mobile himself, 344 rushing yards. He averages only 148 passing. That's on just 21 attempts. Grant Wells started and played some games where Drones also appeared, so I think these stats are a little depressed, but he's still not going to give you the same passing numbers, even as like a Schrader. And honestly, I think the two best signal callers are in the second game. So I'm ranking Schrader and Drones 3 and 4. Backfield, Bashul Tutin, he's played a ton, but it's not just Malachi Thomas handling change of pace work. It's Drones getting a ton of designed attempts, which kind of limits Tutin's overall workload. So you see the 17.3 touches per game. The upside is there for something like that, but then we have Drones with rushing attempts. These are designed 6, 18, 9, and 14. In certain game plans, Drones is just their lead back or very close 1B to Tutin's 1A in the run game. So it's tough to play Tutin. I would rather play LaQuint Allen. There's a couple backs in the latter game I'd rather play, but we at least need to consider him for tournaments. I think he's a pretty good tournament play overall. Then the Virginia Tech receivers. I think we've learned a lot about like the three guys they want to use. Unfortunately, they lost Allie Jennings. Luckily, he's out of the boot. He's not going to play yet, but maybe we can hold out hope for an Allie Jennings late season return. As far as the current guys go, we've sort of seen them narrow opportunity lately. That's been Daquan Felton, Jalen Lane, and Steven Gosnell. To be specific on their routes, Daquan Felton was at 77% last game, Jalen Lane at 90, Steven Gosnell at 94. And then you also have Daquan Wright at tight end. He was at 61. He'll split time a little bit more. They've got Benji Gosnell, a couple guys they like to rotate on the field at tight end. So I'm still focusing on the receivers. But honestly, price adjusted, I don't see much difference in these guys. I'm willing to play Steven Gosnell at 4,600. 9 targets in the last game. Perhaps we're buying a little high on him, but I also think his opportunity is not going to differ from Jalen Lane and Daquan Felton much on a week-to-week basis. And I would certainly rather find the salary to get to like Gosnell over the tight end Daquan Wright. But I'm just not sure we need to punt with Daquan Wright is what I'm trying to say. Our second game, the better game for DFS, Georgia State, Georgia Southern. Just an awesome real-life game. 62 total, 2.5 point spread. Both these teams play really exciting offense. Georgia State, 52nd in pace, 42.5% pass rate. Georgia Southern, 22nd in pace. Their full air rate, 65% pass rate. Oh, of course, I forgot to tell you about how to actually get this tool. I always do this. So before we move on quickly, if you want access to this document, if you want player projections, ownership projections, we have them at Stochastic in a package that I work really hard on. So if you want to support too, or you're looking to up your college football DFS game, the link is in the video description below for that. If you've supported, it means a lot. So I want to thank you as well. But back to this game, we'll start on the Georgia State side, the run heavier team, the slightly slower team, and the underdog. Darren Granger, veteran signal caller, 7,100 is an awesome price tag on him. He has all the same rushing ability as Drones and Schrader, 368 cumulative yards. And he has more volume in the pass game. It's just 27 attempts, but he's also more efficient. He has 233 yards per game, and the matchup not going to be as tough as that previous game for Granger. We should see more efficiency with him. Immediate top 2 signal caller on the board, not even close. I'm playing Granger. Backfield's very easy to get to as well. Marcus Carroll is just a stone cold bell cow. He handled all but like 2 snaps last game. Part of that because KZ Adams was hurt. That's not on DraftKings or FanDuel, so just know KZ Adams didn't play in their last game because of injury. If we see him, maybe he gets a couple snaps. Marcus Carroll's averaging 26.1 touches per game. He's averaging 121 rush yards and 21 receiving yards. Like the guy's a monster. Play Marcus Carroll. He's underpriced by like 2K. Receiving game, Josias Credle is where I want to start. He played in the last game. He only got 10 snaps. And then this week, he wasn't listed on the depth chart. So first and foremost, I don't think we see Credle return. Looks like they tried to rush him back, and it just didn't work out for him. Hopefully, he can get back soon. But we have an alpha in Robert Lewis. He's going to play essentially every single snap. Very clear wide receiver 1 for this team, 80 yards per game. He's averaging 7 targets per game. It's beyond that where we see a bit of a rotation. Talik Williams, Jakari Carter, and Kadarius Thompson have all been rotating. To get specific with these players, the route rate for Talik Williams last game was 52. That was his lowest all season, interestingly. Jakari Carter was at 48%. And then we go down to Kadarius Thompson. He was at 80%. Thompson actually hasn't been below 70% of the routes in 4 straight games for this team, which is really interesting to me. He's 3,100. By far my preferred punt play on this slate. And I like him more than Ja'Cory Carter and maybe even Talik Williams. It's hard to really put him above Talik Williams because even though the routes have dropped for him, the targets have been awesome, 6 per game over the last 4. Really efficient player too. I think the problem with Talik is he had a couple drops last game. I would expect him to get another opportunity and continue to play. So I will rank them Lewis 1, Talik Williams 2, Kadarius Thompson 3. And then honestly, I would still prefer tight end Amon Green over Ja'Cory Carter. He's played a ton since Chris Bird went out with injury, but that's pretty close. To Georgia Southern. Davis Brin has just ridiculous volume. He's like G5 Will Rogers from last year. Negative 45 rush yards in the year, but it doesn't matter that much because he's averaging a 300-yard bonus per game, 305 passing yards on 46.5 attempts. Georgia State's defense is imbalanced. They're awesome against the run, but they're weak against the pass. So this is kind of a tailor-made matchup for Brin. He's my QB2 behind Granger this week. Prefer him to the Schraders and Drones. I think all 4 are in play, but that's just how I would rank them. Backfield, we saw a weird change recently. Last game, they went Jalen White full bell cow. He handled 32 touches. O.J. Arnold only had 5. Now, that game was a little weird. We know when they're competitive, they don't run the ball that much. So I don't think this persists, the 32 touches for Jalen White. But man, he's kind of iced O.J. Arnold at least. So I think for tournaments, we can look to him. He's a bit expensive on this slate. I'd rather play LaQuinta Allen and Marcus Carroll as my top 2. But definitely mixing in Jalen White makes sense here. Just weird, and crazy opportunity last game. To finish, pass catchers for Georgia Southern. We know the locked-in top 2 are Caleb Hood, Derwin Burgess. Every single route, they're efficiently priced. Honestly, I prefer Caleb Hood. He has better targets and more yards than Derwin Burgess on both sides, really. But it's a little more even on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think Hood's your clear play between the 2. Burgess, I mean, you can play them both, but Burgess should offer leverage. They're both awesome plays, to say the least. From there, interesting receiver rotation. Anthony Quealy got benched. I don't know if this is going to persist, but it's now 2 straight games where he's under 40% of the routes, and they've given a lot more to Dalen Cobb. Dalen Cobb had a 78% route share last game, so this is a big change in the offense. They're not really that different in price, but Dalen Cobb at 4,400 versus Quealy at 47. This one at least make you guys aware of the route change between these 2 players. And from there, when we look at some of the deeper guys to target, tight end is a rotation now that Keaton Upshaw is back. J.J. McAfee and Keaton Upshaw both split work. And then it's kind of a rotation for that wide receiver 4. Jalen Varden had a 35% route share. It's not really clear. So to rank these players, it's pretty clearly Caleb Hood Burgess 1, 2. I will put Dalen Cobb 3, Quealy 4, J.J. McAfee 5 to round out this. That'll do it for us today. Let me know in the comments section what you think of this information. If I missed something, let me know. If you have a question, reach out to me on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow breaking down Showdown as well as the full main slate on Saturday. Until then, good luck, everyone. We'll see you soon.